Eileen said, you can't go to that school. And when we asked why, she said, black people live in Philadelphia.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
completely racist.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean,
all.
like to a point where you wouldn't believe the way Jeffrey and Guylaine spoke about African Americans. It was like, it made my skin crawl. Anybody who was not Jewish, and you're right about this, but the way they spoke about them, it was really horrifying. And it showed me a great deal about how these people truly believe that they're chosen to do something here. I don't know. It's unbelievable to me. I mean, and it was every one of them, the way they spoke. And one time I heard Isabel say to her mother, Eileen, Mommy, why do you call Maria a nobody? And she said, honey, Isabel, Maria is not a Jew. She is a nobody.
Wow. Well, you know, it is worth
so you
pointing,
can see why for about 20 years.
That type of stuff I might actually include just because the Maxwell family have
you
ties
should
to
include
this
it.
group
You
that's,
should include it.
what's it called? Chabad Lubavitch. And group
God.
openly talks about how only Jews are human and the rest of human beings are like cattle, basically. So, I mean, it'll probably
this is another thing Guylaine said. Good. Well, Guylaine did make it very clear to me that Annie was very lucky to be able to carry a Jewish baby. That was another thing. She said she would have been so lucky. See, they constantly made it very clear to me. You can't eat at the country club because you're not a Jew. You can't, and I mean, it's like they get hit with a soccer ball in the gut. I've told every news network, and they go, oh, we can't talk about that. Of course, you can't talk about the truth, right? You can, but most people just won't. And I think it's a huge part of it because this is a problem. This elitism is very deep, and these are the people pushing racism. These are the people pushing white. They're saying there's white supremacy, which maybe there is in some ignorant Southern hillbilly groups, but I don't know any white supremacists. But I know a lot of Jewish supremacists. They're all elites, and they're all connected, and they're all a big group, and they are the biggest supremacists I've ever met. And the things they said about black people made me cry. Honest to God, it made me sick. I was like, I can't. And they make it very clear. They made it very clear that I was a servant because I was white. I was a white servant. Yeah, it was made very clear to me. No, you're just a servant. You're white. Another thing I wanted to tell you is when I first got the job with Epstein, the day following when I had to walk home from Barbara Guggenheim's, and Epstein called me. He asked me to meet him at his office the next morning. So the first morning I went in there, I'll never forget. He had all these, it looked like a real office, right? You walk in and there are all these people like secretaries working, answering phones, all this stuff. And Katie Ford and Andre Balotz were in there. Okay? Katie Ford, if you look back at her, boy, that's a son of a bitch, that woman. She's a real son of a bitch, and nobody has called her out. No one. That woman is why they were able to pretend that they were hiring these models. They used her as a cover. And her mother was partners with that guy that they then partnered with in Europe to start X21 or whatever that group is, that modeling agency, XM. Yeah, Brunel. Katie Ford's mother was partnered with Brunel. And Katie was very connected to him. And Guylaine said to me, would you like, I think Annie should model, and we'll just have her model through Katie here. And I was like, Annie doesn't want to model. She wants to go to an Ivy League. She's not interested, thank you. She's like, oh, well, then she can work for, then I'll call my friend Harvey. She was talking about Harvey Weinstein. She goes, she can just work in, she can work in Hollywood. I'm like, you're not listening to me. She's an academic. She's going to write. She wants to be a doctor. She's not interested. They didn't get it. You know what I mean? So I walk into the office, and I sit down, and behind him, I swear to God, this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me in my life, Whitney. I'm sitting there talking, and Jeffrey's got this smile from ear to ear, and he's in sweats. And sitting behind him on the radiator in the Helmsley Palace Hotel office, Morgan Fairchild. And she looks like a tiny plastic doll. And she's just sitting there, never says a word, just smiling. And I'm like, is this Knots Landing? Or, like, I'm trying to figure out what movie she was in. And I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? And why is this woman observing? And every time I went to her office, Every time I went to his office, she was seated there. No one talks about this, but she was there all the time. She was part of his group. She was a groupie or something. I don't know. But she knew very well that he was procuring him. There's no way she didn't know because she was in his office, and she knew.